Now time for My Explainer tonight. Now, lately we have seen more political activity on the political party front than we have in a long time. And fairly so, considering the election is now less than 5 months away. But all these meetings of delegates and party officials endorsing presidential candidates presents us with an opportunity for a clearer understanding of the inner workings and structure of political parties. So what's the difference between the NGC, the NDC, the NEC? Well, to start off with, there are 4 key party organs: the National Executive Committee, or the NEC, the Party Secretariat, the National Governing Council, or the NGC, and the National Delegates Conference, or the NDC, many of which we've seen happening lately, including just this past week. So let's start off with the first one, shall we? The NEC. It is the organ that is mandated with the day-to-day running of the party's affairs. Now, it would typically be domiciled at the party headquarters. It comprises the chair of the party, the secretary general, organizing secretary, treasurer, youth and women leagues leaders, the party leader, and of course the deputy party leader. And it would typically have about 10 to 15 persons. Now, the NEC is charged with making decisions that affect the day-to-day running of the party, keeping the lights on, if you will. Anything from approval of budgets, paying bills, hiring and firing of workers. Now, it is the party's planning organ, preparing the agenda for meetings such as those of the National Governing Council and the NDCs. Now, if we check the next one, the National Governing Council. Now, this is the second highest decision-making organ of a party. It approves the agenda that has been put forth by the NEC, and it thrashes out proposals from the NEC before presenting that to the NDC. So it may refine whatever comes from the National Executive Committee, make amendments or adjustments to their proposals or any items that are on the agenda. This means no proposal goes to the NDC before approval by the National Governing Council. And that is why recently we've seen both ODM and Jubilee have the NGC, that's the National Governing Council, meeting a day before the NDC. UDA, that happened, I think, on Sunday or over the weekend, did both on the same day, one meeting before the other. So this council is much bigger than the NEC. It consists of members of the National Executive Committee, as well as all elected officials on the party ticket. So that is MPs, MCAs, senators, county women representatives. Basically, it has representation from each county. So let's now focus on the NDC, that's the National Delegates Conference. This is the highest decision-making organ of a party. The members here are basically the owners of the party, or wenye chama, if you like. So you're going to see much, much bigger numbers here. Delegates from each constituency. These delegates are those who are elected by party members at the grassroots level, that is at ward level or constituency level, or what perhaps used to be known as party branches. Now, at the NDC, we also have all elected members or aspirants. So basically, the NDC has members of the NEC, that's the National Executive Committee, the National Governing Council, and elected delegates from each constituency. So here's an example of what the numbers look like. ODM had about 3,000 delegates. UDA recently had 5,000 delegates. So what can the NDC do? Well, it can decide on expulsion of members, can ratify amendments to the party constitution, or even overturn the whole constitution and pass an entirely new one. It approves the party's agreements and can then authorize the leadership of the party to, for instance, go into coalition agreements with other parties, as we've seen happening lately. So this is what this means. It means that a party leader cannot make a unilateral decision to enter into an agreement with another party without authorization from the NDC. Now, decisions that are made here are final and cannot be overturned by anyone other than the delegates themselves. So not even the party chair can reverse these decisions, unless, of course, another National Delegates Conference is held and the members make a decision to reverse one that they had made earlier. So let me give you an example. example, for instance, in the recent UDA NDC, following his endorsement to run for president on the party's ticket, Deputy President William Ruto cannot then decide to, for instance, nominate someone else instead without first going back to the NDC for them to make that change. Now, those decisions that are made at the NDC are very procedural. So, for instance, with the nomination of a presidential candidate, there would have to be a proposer and a seconder. Decisions are made either by consensus, that is by acclamation that we've seen, or through a vote. Now, with amendments to the Political Parties Act that allowed for formation and recognition of coalitions as political parties, you would now see joint NDCs taking place, with the constituents members of a coalition now conducting delegates' conferences to endorse a joint presidential candidate, like the joint NDC for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance that is now expected soon to decide who will be the flag bearer of that coalition, or the joint one we saw for the Azimio la Umoja coalition this past weekend. So let's go to our final one. Lastly, we have the party secretariat. This body is the implementer of the decisions that are made by all other party organs. That's the NEC, the NGC, and the National Delegates Conference. They're basically the backbone of the party. They conduct facilitation, set up party meetings, handle logistics and communication, for instance, to party members on date, time, and venue of party meetings, and more. So these are the employees of the party who are hired and fired by the NEC. So that's what's happening, and that's now what you know, especially as we continue to see all of these that are taking place in the country as we head towards the nominations in April and, of course, the general election in August 9th, 2022. That's my explainer tonight.